We will be online in approximately 23 seconds. Hi, and thank you for joining me on this Friday afternoon. My name is Wayne from Ascend Custom Designs. I am a small business owner and a part of the xTool Squad program. What is the xTool Squad, you might ask? The xTool Squad is a global network of experience makers, educators, and small business owners, such as myself. And it really is a global network. So there's xTool Squad members or hosts in multiple countries. So not just in the UK, but in America, in Denmark, Norway, pretty much all over. We offer one-on-one demos of the xTool products that we own. So we're independent from xTool. So we're small business owners, or like I said, educators or experience makers. And the demos are a mix of online and in person. And it differs by the host. So some hosts might not have the room in their workshop or the insurance liability. So they only offer online demos, whereas other hosts might have that in place. We also offer material testing and skill training. Material testing involves testing customer supplied samples under a number of different parameters to get you ideal results. And skill training is essentially a one-on-one masterclass with an xTool Squad member. So we'll find out your requirements. It might be help setting up the machine. It might be help navigating the software, or a mixture of both. So we'll hold your hand through the whole process and get you sorted. If you'd like to find out more information about that, you can go to the website below, and that's support.xtool.com/xtool-squad. And I'll show you how to access that resource from xTool's main website. And at the moment, xTool's running a promotion, and the promotion allows you to book a demo absolutely free of any of their products. So the host gets paid for their time via xTool, and you get a demo. So I highly advise you take xTool up on this offer if you're considering buying. It's a great chance to get some hands-on experience if you're doing an in-person demo, and if not, you can still get a rough idea and ask questions with a one-on-one session. It doesn't have to be just you. It could be multiple people. So if you are a company and there's 3 people that need to decide whether the machine is a good fit or not, by all means, let the host know, and you'll be good to go. And again, if you'd like to find out more information, the website is below. Alternatively, you can scan the QR code above my head, and that will take you to my xTool Squad profile where you can book myself. So if I show you just where you go on xTool's website, you go to xTool's main website, then along the top you've got local service. You would click on product demo, and then you're able to select online and in person. You can go in person. What do we want? We'll say we're around London way. The machine we're looking for is a P2S. So you can filter out by specific machine if you wish. And you can find a variety of people. So you could go, okay, I'll go with J. And then it's just a simple case of clicking on the host. You get to see some pictures of their workshop, machines they have. You can also see their availability and book accordingly. And again, product demos are absolutely free. This is all the information that's required of you. I shouldn't say that. It's you'll ask for your email address and phone number, but no payment information is taken from you. So the only cost is when it comes to doing material testing and skill training. Those are separate items. So that's something that we offer and we get paid for. Whereas the demos, so an actual one-on-one demo, absolutely free. We get paid via xTool. And that's regardless if you buy or not. I should say that if you do buy within a certain period, I think it's 30 days, the host that demoed will get a small commission from xTool. The only time you'll be charged in terms of demos is a physical sample for the power printer. So if you get a physical sample sent to you of the DTF power printer, that's just to cover postage, packaging, and the host time. So there is a small cost for that, and that's $12.99. But for a demo, either online or in person, of that power printer, absolutely free. It's just if you wanted to be sent a sample. So it's a fairly big sample, and that's just to cover the host time, as well as postage and packaging. If anyone has any questions about that, please do let me know. Here is a rough idea of today's workshop. So it's going to be concentrating on the xTool M2. We'll be going over the color module, the CMYK module, so it's full color, and we'll do some laser engraving on it. So the machine I have specifically is the 10-watt version with the inkjet module. So we'll go over the technical information, we'll have a physical look at it, we'll quickly cover some laser safety. It's not really applicable here as it's a class 1 laser, and I'll tell you what that means a little bit later. And then we'll jump straight into the xTool Creative Studio software, and we'll go over everything there. With that being said, if we have a look at the xTool M2, so some of the information you'll see on the screen, it has a 10-watt, 20-watt diode options. It also has a 3-watt infrared option, which is coming very, very soon. So it is available, but it might be hard to get. So those are the modules that are out for it. And then you do have the option of that CMYK inkjet module. So that stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K is for black. So it's full color. And this is a fully enclosed class 1 laser. What that means is you cannot operate it without the guard being all the way down. So if you have that guard up just a little bit, the machine won't operate. For that reason, you don't specifically have to worry about safety glasses, but I will cover them. In terms of the machine specs, it is a dual camera system. So this is a new thing, especially for this entry-level machine. So it's very reasonably priced. And it has a 5-megapixel panoramic camera, and that is located on the actual lid itself. And I'll show you where that is when we do physical inspection of it. And then there's the 2-megapixel close-up camera, which again, I'll show you where that is when we do a physical look at it. And it's located right next to the laser head module. So it's actually very, very accurate and very handy. Some of the features, it's able to auto-detect material. It's been spot on every time I've used it. So we'll test it out again today and we'll see if it detects it. In terms of speed, it's capable of speeds of up to 600 millimeters a second. So this is a gantry-based laser, so the laser physically moves. And that is why it is only capable of speeds of up to 600. So if you've tuned in for any of my others, you'll know the F series, the F2 specifically, is capable of 6,000 millimeters a second. And that's because it is a different type of laser system. It's a galvo laser, uses a mirror to bounce the laser around the bed. And one of the drawbacks of that is the limited work area. So this has a much bigger work area than the galvo lasers. It is 42.6 centimeters by 32 centimeters. So it's a fairly spacious work area. And it comes pre-assembled and is ready to use once you calibrate it. And it's a fairly simple process. If you do want to find out more information about this machine, you can scan the QR code, and that will take you to xTool's website, specifically this website. So here you can see a video if you want. So you can see just some of the things that you're able to do on this machine. Some of the things I've mentioned, it's class 1. I've not mentioned this, so the tumblers, you are able to engrave tumblers. So it doesn't have a riser base, so it's limited. It takes up very little height on desks. Typically with lasers, you would have a riser extension. So the S1, for example, you have a riser base if you're going to do tumblers or deeper objects. And the same with the P2 and the P2S, you have a riser base. With this M2, there is no need for a riser base to do a tumbler. And that is because with the rotary attachment, the laser will go from horizontal to vertical. So you're able to switch between the ways that the laser beams. So typically the laser will beam down. With the riser, with the RA3 light, you're able to change the orientation of the laser, and it's able to engrave at a very different angle, which saves space. So you can see it here that the laser is actually hitting it a different way, and that saves space. That's actually quite ingenious. I never thought about that. I don't know any other manufacturer where you're able to do that. So that's some very good innovation on xTool's part. I have been asked in terms of what the ink module can do. So can it print on clothes? And the answer is it can, but it's water-based ink, so the ink will wash off. So do bear that in mind. If you are printing on, say, wood, depending on the wood, it might absorb it very differently, so you might not get ideal results. You can get a spray that you can spray on the wood, and it will stop it absorbing really weirdly, and it's able to stay on top, and then you can spray it again, and it kind of makes it waterproof. So there are different options available. In terms of the tattoo paper, I've been asked about that because some of the videos have shown xTool printing, xTool M2 printing on tattoos. So xTool will be releasing the temporary tattoo paper shortly, and it's just passing its skin contact certification. So it's in the process, so stay tuned for that. In terms of the rotary devices, in the rotary extension, you're able to engrave items up to 100 millimeters, so 10 centimeters in diameter. And the RA3, so if you already have a machine, there will be an adapter that is coming out for the M2, so you can use your RA3, and it'll be the M2 adapter kit. So you won't necessarily have to buy a whole new rotary device if you already have the RA3. So do bear that in mind also. In terms of cutting ability, the 10-watt diode can cut 8mm basswood and 3mm black acrylic in a single pass. And the 20-watt diode can cut 10mm basswood and 8mm black acrylic in a single pass. The ink cartridge for this specific device is also not refillable, so do also bear that in mind. Now, if we physically go over to the M2, so we'll do a physical look of the M2. And what I'll do is I'll also take my phone so we can get a closer inspection. So if I go over to that camera, so here we can see the physical machine. If we open this up, you have the bed. There is a camera under here, and you can't see, it's just off the screen, but there's a camera here. If I switch over to my iPhone, there we go. So this is the panoramic camera. So that is the camera I was referring to, and that's that 5-megapixel camera. And that takes a picture of the whole bed, of this whole space here. I have the laser module in place at the moment. It's connected by a USB-C. It's just an angled USB-C to USB-C. So that's how it gets power. In terms of the panoramic camera, I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a camera under here, and that is what takes up that close picture. In terms of buttons, this is the sole button on the front. There's no emergency stop because it's a class 1 laser. As soon as you open this lid, the laser will stop. So if there's an emergency, you can just open this lid. There's a power button on the back. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but there it is. That's the power button. And there is some USB or connectivity on the back that will allow you to connect other devices such as the air purifier. So right now I have this venting outside. In terms of switching the modules over, it's very, very straightforward. So all I have to do is unplug the USB-C out of the side, which I've done here. I can then just pull this module off. It's that simple. So there's magnets here. And then if I wanted to switch, I have the inkjet cartridge here, or it might be the infrared laser. So you got your different options. Again, you've got your USB-C connectivity here, and it will just literally snap in one way and one way only. And I can just plug that back in, and now I have the ink module installed. So I'll leave this installed for the moment. So we'll test this out first today so we don't run out of time. One of the great benefits that I like about this machine is as soon as you close this lid, you can hear it beep. So what that does is it actually takes a snapshot. As soon as that lid is closed, it takes a snapshot. So one of my pet hates with the other machines that have a camera is when I close this, it doesn't update the picture. So if I put in a coaster, I've engraved it, I then flip it over and I've moved it. If I don't update the picture, I'm engraving the wrong place. So now this eliminates that completely by it knows that you've taken a picture. So if I switch over to the screen, this is what I mean. And then we'll cover the laser safety after I've shown you this. So if I connect to the device, it takes a picture. If I was to just show you the if I was to just put a simple coaster in the machine and close it, you can see straight away it has updated the picture. So that is what I was referring to. So that is very nice to have. If we cover the laser safety training just quickly, so this is pretty much irrelevant mostly to this model because it's a class 1 laser, but some things do apply. So never leave the machine unattended. You can create a flame. There is safety features in there that where it will stop if a flame is detected, but always be in the room while it's operating. If you need to leave the room, pause the job. You can pause. I've had to do this a few times where I really couldn't wait for it to finish the job. Pause it and it will stop the machine. So you can continue. I've never had any issues continuing where I've left off. In terms of surface, you're on a flat, stable surface, and always check that the surface you're putting it on has a load bearing capacity for the weight of the machine. Don't modify the machine. And then ventilation. So I have this machine venting outside. You can hook up this specific machine to the air purifier, but you will need an adapter. The air purifier has a smaller hose hookup. This machine has an 8-inch diameter, I believe, and it's just too big to fit around the intake of the air purifier. But you can let xTool know if you already have one, if you already have the air purifier, reach out to xTool and they will get you the adapter sent out. And then there's still a few materials that you should never engrave, so or cut, so PVC or vinyl. So they contain very bad chemicals, pretty much the same stuff. Very bad for your lungs, very, very bad. Don't do it. And it's also bad for your machine. It will eat away at the laser, so don't do it. I have been told that there is vinyl that you can cut, and that is true, but it's a very, very few and far between. So it's not your typical vinyl, so it's not made out of the same material. So as a rule of thumb, I do not cut vinyl on my machine. Most people that are upgrading from, say, a Cricut machine or a Silhouette, they have very stereotypical vinyl, and this machine will not be able to cut that. In order to cut that, you will need a blade. And that blade will, so you're thinking the M1 Ultra, that blade will make sure that you're doing it in a very safe way. So where possible, if I'm cutting vinyl, I use a vinyl cutter. Wood, everything else, this machine is good to go. And then safety glasses. So this bit's a little bit irrelevant with this model because you can't operate it with the lid open. But if you have another machine, you will need to get a pair of safety glasses if you do operate it with the lid open. So like I said, this machine is a class 1 laser, so you don't have to worry about that. You cannot operate the machine with the lid open. It will only work while the lid is fully down, so you're fully safe while you use it. So if we jump now back into the xTool Creative Studio software, so this is where we make all the magic happen. I'll show you where to download that from the website. So if you go all the way to the top, you've got software, and then just hit download. It will know what machine you have. So in this case, it's asking for Apple Silicon. I have this installed on numerous PCs, so you're not limited by the number of PCs you can install it on. It's free software. So this only works with xTool lasers. Absolutely free. There's no payment required for it. All the basic features are there. So the only time you'll be asked for some sort of credits is with the AI side of stuff, which I'll cover. And that is very much optional. All the core features are absolutely free. And it's available for Apple, old style Apple, so Intel-based Apple, as well as Windows. So I have this installed on a Windows 10 machine, well, 2 Windows 10 machines, as well as several Windows 11 machines. And it's always good to check out the release notes. They're constantly updating the software. The software is what makes the difference. xTool have come out with the ecosystem. So if we jump straight into it, this is xTool Studio. And they have a whole wide range of things. So you've got your Atom, so ATOMM. So you can also go to atom.com. And this is where you can download projects, you can upload projects. So you can find a project that is ready to go and get going in minutes with the M2. So you could go, do you know what? I want to cut out these Safari magnets. Click on it. There's a lot of products that are absolutely free. And I could just click open. And I could go, okay, I just want the SVG of that. And here we go. Straight away it's in there. I'll change it to red so you can see it better, but it's literally that simple. So Atom is a very nice addition, but that's only part of the puzzle. You do have this material, so you can order materials directly from xTool here. There's also settings that you can create yourself. We'll cover that at a later point. And then you do have this xTool Academy, so I do recommend that people take use of this resource here. So the M2, we're able to click on any of these videos getting started. So these are official xTool resources, and it's very nice to have. So I constantly get asked, is there any official resources? And a lot of people are not looking for a booklet, they're looking for step-by-step instructions. This is it. So no longer will you have to scour YouTube and find third-party videos. xTool have xTool endorsed videos. xTool does collaborate with creators and makers, and have videos that they have on there. So for example, Paul has come up with a Start and Scale Your Laser Business. So that's a very good series, and I highly recommend check that out when you do have time. They do have this laser safety training. I recommend you do that. This comes in handy. No, even though some of it is not applicable to the M2, a lot of it is. So in terms of the fire risk management, the air quality, so very good stuff to know. It's not scary as a lot of people might think. So when you get into it, it's actually very simple stuff. You get a certificate at the end of it. And again, you can download this software today. You can install it. You can create an account. An account is free. And you can try out all this stuff. So you can try before you buy, in that sense. See if this is something that you're able to do, that you're able to manage. I know some people struggle with technology. Honestly, the software is super easy to get to grips with. And if we go over the software now, so if we wanted to start a new project, it's a simple case of hitting this plus button up here for new project. Okay. So it's automatically taken a picture of the bed. This was the last machine I had connected. I could switch to a different machine, say the F2. And again, it will take a snapshot. So it connects to the last machine you was connected to. I can have one laser doing a job and then switch to another laser and then get that laser to do the job. So you're not locked into one computer per laser. You can operate many lasers from one computer. From what inside this software, it's very nice to do. I've done it on numerous occasions. If you're downloading the software today and want to try it out, if you just go over to Device Library, you can have a look at all the features of any of xTool's products without having the product connected. So I get asked this often as well. So if you go over to this Device Library, and again, you download the software, you install it, and just click this button up here, Switch Connect. And again, it's just this button here, Switch Device / Connect Device. And if you go to Device Library, you can connect to a device that you don't have. So I could go, do you know what? I want to have a look at the P2S. You can see straight away the bed size. It's larger. You can see the different options that you have up here. So the aimed measure. I could go, okay, do you know what? I want to see the P3. And again, that's even bigger. And then again, you've got this precise measure. So the slightly different terminology. The P3 is very accurate. It uses a very different way of measuring. And you'll find that with the different machines. Some may or may not have a camera. So like the S1 doesn't have a camera. The F1 doesn't have a camera. But there's different ways of doing measurements. So you're able to do that. So if we connect back to the M2. So now that I have this connected, what we will do is we will see how accurate the print is. So if we set it up for printing to begin with. So right now the mode is lasering on flat surface. So we click that. I can then say, you know what, I want to do some inkjet printing. So now I have that. And then what I'll do is I will spin here and I'll have something that I want to try. I just want to see how accurate. I've tested out the accuracy of the laser, of the camera with the laser, but I've never done it with the ink module. So what I'm going to do is just not very accurate, not very good. I'll do a line. I'll do a straight line. There we go. So I've done a line and done a box. And what we'll do is we'll put that in the bed. There we go. So if I move this and I will, there we go. We switch over to there. I'm just going to put this in the bed. I've lifted it up. straight away it's popped up. So we do have some options here. So we can take another picture. So refresh background, all that does is take another screenshot. And of course we can go, okay, we need to reposition it. We can just lift this up, move this down, and again, it will update the picture. So I should tell you about the work area. So the work area, it's a maximum size. So when I talked about the tech specs, so here you got that max workspace. So you get the maximum workspace when you use the laser module. So the 10 watt, 20 watt, and it might be slightly less for the infrared because it might be a thicker module. So do check if you lose any space between the different modules. But if we have a look at the area here, so we have the inkjet module installed, we can't print on this grayed out area here. So we do lose some area. So here we can't print. There is a reason why I used a very thin pen, because you can just barely see that line there, and you can see the line, the wonky square box that I drew. So I did that purposely, as I want to align it inside that box, and I want to rotate the text. And that one, I'll print the text along the line, and we'll see how accurate it is. So you might be thinking the picture quality is not that great, and you would be right. So that is using the panoramic camera. So if you want a close-up, you can use that 2 megapixel. It doesn't sound like a lot, but because it's so close to the bed, it doesn't need to be a high megapixel camera. So you can see straight away the color difference. So if we do that again, and you may have seen here, it's automatically measured the material too when we took a close-up. So I quite like some of these features. So if I do half and half, just so you can see. So when you take a picture, you'll lose the previous picture that you've taken. And you might think, well, actually, I need to take a picture of a bigger area. Can we do that? And the answer is yes. So you can stitch together multiple pictures here. So you got your close-up stitching. And that's just for a single picture. So it might be you're doing a keychain and a single picture is all that's needed. So if we take a close-up stitching, and if we do a go like that, so you can see right now that it's going round, taking all those pictures, and it's updated, and you can kind of see the shadow where it stitched the pictures together. So here I can see that the alignment here is just off, but for the most part, that is really, really accurate. So what I'll do in this case, I'm going to print my name. So it's just a case of clicking the text. And I'll just say Wayne. And then you can adjust the fill and the stroke up here. So the fill is the inside color, and the stroke is the outside color. So we just have black. So we might go, actually, we want green. And if I click on that, I can click on green, and there we have it. And what I'll do is I'll rotate this. We'll have it like that. Now I can go, okay, I want to do just a single close-up picture, and I'll do that so we don't get that weird. So now I go, okay, and again, I'll do this one black, and I'll just say Wayne, and stroke, black, fill, black, so they're all the same color. Yeah, okay, I need to rotate that. You know what? Let's save the W. we'll make it to the Y, which is the bottom. So there you can see the Y, so just there like that. So we have that inside the square and the Y just above the line. It might be kissing it. We'll see how accurate that is. So now we're done. We can frame it. So if we hit frame, it will frame the whole area. So it'll frame here, down here. I'm not going to frame it as I'm very happy with the camera. So if I hit process, gives you some information here. You can see a path of how it's going to go about it. And there we go. So if I hit start, it's generating the file. And what I have to do is I have to hit a very specific button to get it to start. So if I show you that button, so this is the button, it's gone green. If I hit this button, it will start. What I want to do is switch over to the iPhone just so you can see when I do click this button. I want you to see what happens with the lid. So I've hit the button. So what it's done now is it's taken off that cap. But there's a very ingenious way for xTool to do it. So you can see just how this is doing it. And that's it. And then see what happens with the cap. So it automatically puts that cap back on, and that cap will keep the ink fresh. So if I just switch back to the pan tilt zoom camera, there we go. If I was to take that back out, and again, it's updated the picture. So if we switch back to the, there we go, it's just zooming in. You can see just how accurate that is. So it's just above, and that is exactly where we put it. Honestly, this is a very, very accurate machine. So again, if I was to show you my screen, if we just finish that, you can see where it is. So with that, you can see just there. If I was to switch over to my desk camera and show you if I can zoom in. There we go. Look how accurate that is. Honestly. That is something to bear in mind. So the camera is very, very accurate. Zoom back out there. Now, you might be thinking, what can I print with this module? And the answer is you can print a lot of different things, as you would with a printer. But what I will say is this doesn't you won't be getting the same level of detail that you would on a printer that's its sole function. So for example, if you've got an expensive printer, the print quality between this and say the Epson printer, if you've got one of them, will be vastly different. So this comes in handy if you're making cards. I've used it a few times already where I wanted to add a bit of color. So I've engraved a card and I wanted to add a bit of color. It's come in very, very handy. So if you're looking to add color to your craft, this is definitely the model to get. And this machine is a very aggressively priced in terms of how cheap it is for what you get. I'm actually shocked how cheap it is. So if we was to switch it back over to here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch between the laser module and the ink module. So I'm going to take the ink module out. And again, just a case of pulling out that one USB-C cable. See just how easy it is. And what I like to do is I put it back here just to preserve it. So the cap is automatically put back on. And again, so this is the 10 watt, and you can tell that because it's got it on the lid or on the top even. And again, this just snaps into place, so it's magnetic. And then I just hook it back up and close the lid. So it's a very straightforward. If anyone has any questions with that, please do let me know. So from here, I can then change it from inkjet printing to lasering on a surface. What I will say is if you want to do a print and cut, so if you want to print something out and then cut it, you can absolutely do that. And you do that here. So you can print and then have cut areas where you want to cut. This is also where you would use the rotary attachment if you're doing curved material. Batch designs, so all one design or different designs. So you can change the mode there. So in terms of material, if I switch over the screen, so this mode here is what I was referencing. So at the moment, we had it on inkjet printing. You can switch it to print and cut. So it will print first, then cut. And this is where you have all those different options. So typically most people will switch between these three, maybe four. If you're doing a lot of the same design, if you're batching out, say, coasters or keychains, this is what this will be your friend. So xTool have a lot of different modes, and I highly recommend you check them out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test out the automatic material detection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some cork coaster. So this is one that I've previously engraved on the back. And I'm going to use this arrow, this crosshair here to level it out. So I'm happy that it's level. And it's taken a picture. So when you're engraving something, you need to make sure you get a few things correct. The first one is you want to measure thickness. So you want to get the laser the correct distance from the material. xTool have made this very simple with this aimed measure tool. And this is approximate. So if I was to do it again, you might get a slightly different result. So that's 2.98. .95. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that because it's a diode laser. It's very forgiving. It's not. It's within tolerance, and that's one of the reasons I think why this machine is so cost effective. So I've not noticed any negative effects because of that. I'll now take a stitch picture of that. So you can see it working away. Okay, now we might be going, if we click on this unknown material, we can type in cork and find settings for this machine if they're on here. So this is still a fairly new machine. It might not be on here, who knows? So I guess not. So if I was to go to this one up here, AI material detection, I'm just going to say capture with the camera. So it's taking a picture. I've not engraved cork on this machine yet. And what it's using is the power of AI to recognize that material. So everything I've put in there so far, it's identified and come up with settings, and it's a very good place to start. Brown cork coaster, 40% power, 125 speed, 1 pass. And that's for scoring. For engraving, 30% power. Cutting, there's nothing in there. And for bitmap engraves, there is. So you can see here how it's all broken down. So scoring is literally just the outside where you're going to score the material. So for example, if I enter text, it would just be the outline of the text. When you engrave that same text, so let's just say it was the W on the score, it would just do the outside of the W. On engrave, it will fill that in. When it comes to cut, it will look exactly like score, but the difference is the cut-in wants to cut all the way through the material, whereas scoring just wants to score the material. And then bitmap engrave, that is where you're engraving pictures. And by pictures, I mean bitmap pictures, so not vectors. So when you do a vector will engrave to SVGs. So if you're coming from Cricut or Silhouette, you'll be very familiar with SVGs. So scalable vector graphics, and they can infinitely scale and do not lose quality. Whereas a bitmap image is made up of pixels, and it will get pixelated as you blow it up. So you might have encounters where you've got a picture, you might download it off Facebook, and you've stretched it out and it looks very pixelated. That's because it's a bitmap file. So you have all the settings there. So I'll go apply and save. And now it's brown cork coaster. It's got that AI next to it. And if I click here, I can find it in the recent list. So what I'll do now is I'll put my name. So we'll do Wayne. If I zoom in, I can see the scoring has come up with that. So we'll have score. In fact, we'll just say score. Then if I do the same again, text, and I'll say engrave. You can see the difference, and I can select multiple objects and shrink it down and go, okay, I want that over there. And let's test out the AI side of things. So if we click on this AI make, if anyone has anything that they want me to make or engrave even on, please do let me know. So here we have a whole list of options. So I can click engraving. I can turn a picture into an exquisite carving, and literally it does do this. It's absolutely amazing what xTool have come up with. So this is all within the software, and this bit is an added extra. So by that I mean there is a cost to this. You do get some free usage out of it every month. At the start of the month, you get free goes, so to speak. And I should note that this works with even their most expensive models. By that I mean if you're doing 3D engraves, they take up more credits. Absolutely free on this. So regardless if it's 6 credits or 50, you get 3 free shots. So if you click on this below here, you got buy credits, and it's very cheap, very inexpensive. So 500 credits, $5, 1,000 credits for $10, 2,000 credits for $20. Most things will cost you 6 credits. So that's 6 cents. So that's what, four pence-ish. For me, it's a time-saving exercise. So I have, for example, I've done this numerous times. I've demoed it, but I've got a real picture, like this picture here. So this is a real picture. And what I was able to do is I was able to select the mode. I select engraving. I did a line drawing because line drawings work great for a lot of things. I said fine line art, and then what I did was I just dragged this into here. So no need for me to type in anything. Prompt is already there, and I hit go. And what I got was, I scroll all the way down. So that's an exquisite drawing. And this is a different style, exquisite drawing. And then in terms of line art, if I do that one, so that's my dog. So you're able to easily turn things into line art. And again, that's slightly different. And again, this is AI. So you do get slightly different results. And again, there it says friends and family. So it is, and again, it is AI. So you're only in control of so much, but you can prompt it to do different things. So it does pick up on the nuances, like there. My collar is just sitting over my jumper. And you can see that there. So you can get it to regenerate. It's a fantastic piece of software. So it just saves you time, and you can check out all your chats. It's honestly a fantastic piece of equipment, a tool, even fantastic tool. So here I had it create a picture from nothing. So you're able to do all sorts of things. And the benefit of using this tool, AI Make, versus say using ChatGPT, is it's all within one piece of software. So it's all within one interface. Not just that, you're able to get an image that is ready to engrave. So if I ask ChatGPT to generate me a picture, it might not generate it in a way that will engrave good. So I find, for example, that when I'm engraving on slate, line drawings are fantastic. Same goes for wood. If I try and do a detailed drawing, so if I try to do that exquisite drawing, it will not turn out as anticipated. I can do exquisite drawings, but it'd be on things like this watch strap. So this watch strap was engraved using the F2 Ultra UV, and I was able to get detail on it that you wouldn't be able to get on wood or paper. So if I'm engraving on cardstock or paper, I would always do a line drawing. So with that being said, we'll engrave on the coaster. What we'll do is we will grab a vector file or a bitmap image. So the images that it generated here are all bitmap images, and we'll test out the quality of it, so to speak. So that, I don't like the way that is. That's me. Let's find a line drawing, a very simple line drawing. So this is one that I've done previously. So I had AI make just generate me a generic golden retriever. So I provided it with no images. It was just a prompt. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting rid of the white space. And what you can do is cut out. So generally speaking, the laser will not engrave white. So there are reasons why you'd want it out. So if you're going to invert the image, so when you engrave on slate, for example, you want to invert the image. And by that, I mean there. And obviously we don't want that black because it will engrave like a box. And we want to get rid of that white area. So in this case, we would go to cutout, and then you've got AI cutout, and that is where it will automatically try and cut things out. So you can see that it's kind of got the gist of it, but in this case, I'll do a manual cutout and I'll change this just a little bit. There we go. I'm happy with that. So what I'll do here, and we can tell the settings. So when we click on score, you can see it says score. It's using the AI recommended parameters, 40% power, 125, engraving. And I will do 40 and 125. So I'm going to change this just because I like to tweak my settings and I think those will work better. And that power here, for example, I think 65 power, 145 and 120. I'm going to go with that minimum output. I'm going to say is going to be 25% power, and let's process. So score, engrave, and then a bitmap engrave. So if I hit start, you can see that it's ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is hit this button to start it. So now that's started, you can see it engraving here. The one thing you might be saying, if you've seen my other videos, you might be going, this is painfully slow. So this is going to take 10 minutes. So I'll stay on until this is finished. So we'll go over just a little bit. But if I click this enable monitoring, so you can look at the camera real time. So this is a very good way to look at it too. So enable monitoring. So this is quite nice. And by the looks of it, that, oh no, yeah, it is right. So I was going to say it looked reversed then, but no. So you can see engrave. It's done the engraving first. And I can enable the camera. So you can see in the bottom left, that's an external camera. And this, what you're seeing here, that's a live feed from the actual machine itself. So there's a lot of features pushed into this one machine, and for the price point, it really is surprising. So right now it's engraving, it's doing all the engraves first. So it's engraving that picture by the looks of it. And what I'll do is, while it's doing that, I'm just going to restart my Stream Deck over the back end of the office. And like I said, because this lid is closed, it's safe to operate. Now, if I was to open this lid, this machine will stop. And here we can see an accurate time, and it really is accurate. So the time that it lists, it really is accurate how long it's going to take. So 7 minutes 52. Now, if we wanted to crack on with another job, I could just hit this minimize button here. I then could start a new tab. We'll add along here. Right now we can see that machine's busy. I can switch from that machine to my, say, my F2. And I could crack on with a job here. So I could go, do you know what? I want to do the same thing. I want that image there. If I copy that and I paste that, go, do you know what? I'm going to put a coaster in over here. So I could do that. So if I've got a blank coaster, I'm going to line these two up. In fact, I'll do the auto measure. I'll just this in here. So I'm just going to show you how quick the machine is, depending on what you want to do. So depending on what type of materials you're working on. So I've just selected the base. And here I want to use so dot duration, I want to say 300, power 65. There we go. Just frame this, so this will automatically focus the material. Take a picture of the actual bed. I'm going to put that there. I'm happy with that. Process, and this will say how long it's going to take. 1 minute 23. Hit start. So I've gone a little bit too high on these. So I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm burning. So in this case, I could go stop. So I could cancel that. And maybe I do the 100. So I could flip over on the side. Send the job. And give it a try again. There we go, that's better. So I was just coming up with settings on the fly there. I do have specific settings I use for cork, and they are different between the different machines. So I did a ton of cork coasters for my wedding. And I used this specific machine, the F2. And the reason why I did that is because it's so quick. So if we go over to the, you can see it's very much still, you just zoom in there. It's very much still working away. Whereas that is nearly done. So there's 12 seconds left. Now if we go over to my desk camera, you can see. So here, straight away, I was seeing flame. So it didn't set anything on fire, thankfully. But you can see here, burning. So this is why it's imperative you do not leave the room when the machine's operating. So I always do a material test to get ideal results. I changed the settings as I like a dark engrave. But the more power you use, the more likely there's going to be a flame. So if you do a lot of power and slow speeds, that's where you get those burn marks. But that is done, and you can see that took 1 minute and 3 seconds to do that. Whereas the other machine is still whirring away. So if I hit finish on that, you got this little option down here, and I can see where I'm at. So if I click on it, I can see there's 1 minute 44 left. So there's a process. Do you want to handle it now? Yeah, we're back here. If I load that back up, you can see and this is the difference really between a galvo laser. So if your 90% of your business is small, so in terms of 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, the F2 would probably be a better fit. But if you're looking for color and to work on larger mediums, so pieces of wood, you're looking to chop large pieces of wood, then this is the way to go. But there is a trade-off in terms of speed. I use machines together. So for example, I would chop wood on this M2 and then I would engrave it on the F2, solely because the M2 has a diode laser and it's able to cut big pieces of wood into smaller pieces of wood that I'm then able to process. So by that I mean I could do things like this. So this is just generic plywood. It's 3mm plywood, red plywood. I could cut this out on my M2. So this is egg-shaped. And then I would engrave this for a customer on the F2. So we're done now. If I go over, I switch to my desk camera again. You can have a look. So this was done on the F2 and this took 1 minute, just over 1 minute. So you can see the quality is very comparable. But this took 1 minute and 3 seconds. This took 10 minutes, and yes, it did this here, this engrave and the score. So you can see the score is just outside and the engrave is fully engraved. And there you can put your finger in it there. But in terms of the image, this is what takes the time. If you're doing a lot of images, you really do want to have a faster laser because that would be your bottleneck. But it really depends on what size picture what you're engraving on. If it's canvas size, then it will be a gantry-based laser, and you just have to know that it will take some time to engrave. But both are very, very comparable. In fact, they look identical in terms of their color and the detail. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know. please do reach out to me. If you're tuning in after it's aired, send me an email. So my contact details are on the left. They're just below. So this machine, the M2, it's very much a jack of all trades in the sense of it's got a diode laser. You have the infrared attachment. So if you want to engrave on plastics and metal, you can do that for certain plastics. And then you've got that print capacity. So if you want to print and cut, you have that functionality. It's very nice to have. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, please do reach out to me. I'm online again tomorrow at the same time, 4 p.m. So please do check that out, and we'll be continuing on where we left off. So I'll cover all the basics again, and then we'll get straight into using the machine. So we'll work on some slate tomorrow maybe. But if anyone has any ideas, again, please do